Thank you very much for coming here and joining us to discuss this topic. I'm Ashutosh. I'm from Forecast Technology. I have with me Annamalai, so he will also be helping us with the presentation. Uh, So today we are going to talk about how we can manage the technical data package in Team Center. And in between, if you guys have any question, feel free to stop me and ask. So, we'll try to see how we can make it more collaborative. So, uh, let's go to the agenda. So we'll just talk a few minutes about who we are as a focused technology company. Then we'll talk about the TDP, what it is, and I know most of you, or in fact all of you know what TDP is, but the next part is how we can create a good solution inside Team Center. After that, we'll talk about how this can be consumed downstream once you have created a TDP package in Team Center, how we can take it to suppliers or manufacturer or for an RCA analysis or any other kind of. And at the end, we'll talk about the case study of one of the implementations, so that it will give you an idea of how this approach can become a successful approach. So, Forecast Technology, we are a new startup. We were established in 2015, and we are growing organically just from word of mouth. And we are now established in 3 countries: US, Canada, and India. We all come from a very technical background. So technically, we are a very, very strong team, and that's where our strength lies. So any complex problem, we are able to solve because most of us at the high level have more than 20, 25 years of experience in PLM domain. So we come from both side, from product development side as well as service side, where we can add value and create solutions which really solve your day-to-day problems. We do work with the companies in all domains, automotive, aerospace is the main, but we work in other domains, consumer goods, high-tech, heavy industry. Even we work with some software services providers, and then of course, we do tool development. So we do develop tools in complementary to PLM. So if we look at the tool development, we have a chatbot as a support chatbot for PLM. It's basically able to solve your L1 or L1.5 kind of tickets. So simple things which can be automated. You don't really need to go through a person. It can do it for you, as well as it can do a little more complex things based, and it can adapt to it, and you can make it more and more flexible. The second one is a data hub. And we'll talk in more details about Data Hub, which basically it works with your Team Center data, and then it can be transferred to your suppliers or inside the company as well. So that's we will talk about. We have after that we have a trend comparison tool. We have another small tools which we have developed over the years, and apart from that, we do provide admin support and testing services. So we can take the entire managed services kind of thing for your organization, and we can do complete administration, or we can support your existing team. It's same for other kind of administration and support we call cloud administration as well, related to PLM. We are working with implementation not just on the cloud, but on the implementation, but even the in cloud implementation. Then we work with all kind of PLM applications. Teamcenter is the main. Then quite apart from that, we work with Innovia, and then we work with all kind of CAD tools. We do customization and configuration, installation, all the services we provide in PLM as well as all the CAD tools. That said, let's get to the main topic of the session, that is TDP. So basically, TDP was came into picture when Defense Department started mandating it, in the sense, they wanted to formalize the acquisition of data, and so that it can be reproduced consistently. It creates a package which can, which does not only give you the current and lets you manufacture or understand the current product, but even in the future you should be able to, based on this data, you should be able to recreate so that was the main goal. Based on that, the definition came on what all needs to be added to this package so that it becomes something which is reliable, and in a model-based design it can become something which everyone can use. So it must be able to create a product or whatever you are trying to design, not just today, but in the future also, when you want to, you are in a different life cycle maintenance, or even at the end of the life cycle for that product, you should be able to get to this technical data package and understand what it is, and reproduce or recreate a particular product. So in general, 3D PDF is the go-to format for all TDP, but a lot of customers we have seen, they want to go with the zip format because of multiple reasons, in the sense they are not very comfortable with adding everything to 3D PDF, and otherwise, it becomes bulky, in the sense it becomes very large, and there are few restrictions which are there in 3D PDF, and if you hit one of those restrictions, zip is another format which people use all the time. Usually, if you look at a TDP, they do contain native CAD files. So it is between company to company. So everyone is different, and how they are going to manage the data would be different. Some of them will put native CAD files, some of them may want to convert it to a step or IGS or neutral format, any neutral format, and put that file in the 3D PDF. Although drawing is not a part of the original specification, many companies put drawing as well in the TDP itself, so that it's very good for the manufacturing industry, with manufacturing part of it, which although it should be on a model-based thing, but they are still using drawing. So people still use drawing. Apart from that, different specification and reference document can be added. Metadata from Teamcenter or in PLM system and another attribute can be exported either as a file or in the template of 3D PDF if you are using 3D PDF. If you are using zip, you can add it as a file, a separate file, or CSV. So when we are designing the system, the easiest way or the most effective way we follow is how to extract this. was a solution which is not really embedded inside Teamcenter. It's a lightweight external system which can talk to Teamcenter and perform all the tasks which are required. So in this solution, we have a connector for Teamcenter. This connector can talk to Teamcenter, it can query a Teamcenter, upload, download files from Teamcenter. Apart from that, it has a capability to talk to CAD translators. So CAD translators, you can have one or multiple CAD translators. It can talk to them, and based on the profile of a particular supplier, you can use a different, a specific translator or a specific format. All this is controlled by center system data hub, which will control the connectors and the translators, and based on how the data is generated, how it would be consumed, it will create a workflow for it internally and process the data accordingly. So how the data is managed in this scenario? There are three places where data is there. First is Teamcenter, where originally files were there, and the data is downloaded, the files are downloaded using the original captured using tone or PCS export, so that the data integrity is maintained. If you are looking for assembly, you have to get the exact translation and exact details of parts. Then the query is based on relation and references to acquire maybe drawing PDF or any specification or any other document you are looking for. Maybe it may not be exactly the reference document, but anything else you are looking for. All those things can be traversed through relation and reference, and we can grab those data. It can work with different complex data scenarios. Like it can work with master model, part families, trim and finish kind of solutions. All those things it can work with. And most importantly, it creates and gives a concise log file to the end user to see what all it did, in the sense in this step. These are the files which were exported, and these are the files which should be embedded inside this 3D video. On the CAD translation side, it works with the native translation, so from CATIA or NX itself, you can save it into a neutral format. Another feature is that it can easily be scaled up and scaled down. So suppose during the evening hours, the load is always more than during morning hours. So based on that scenario, you can add a translator in the evening hours, and maybe in the morning hours there may be 5 translators, evening hours 7 translators, or the way it can be decided. So that scale up and scale down is very straightforward. It also supports a quality check or 3D comparison after translation. And the translation which is provided, which is done, is based on the profile of a supplier. So you can, for each supplier, you can define a profile, whether he needs IGS format or data, and these kind of things is required for this particular supplier. It will go through that, and based on that, it will create the complete package and use appropriate translation. From the data itself, so the file itself, file handling side point of view, it is able to it can handle a very large data file. So if you see the DDP package itself, it is usually very large. So the large file handling and transfer of large files is a big issue. If we have developed in this case a scenario where it is able to handle large files with the latest technology we are using. We do encrypt data at rest as well as in transit, so the data is always encrypted. We do provide our trade with the complete from end to end, right from when it was downloaded from Team Center to when to supplier. So everything who downloaded, when it was downloaded, where the file went, everything is recorded in the audit trail. And you can have a approval mechanism before it goes to a supplier. So before it really sends to supplier, you can go through a approval. It can be deployed in cloud or in prem or in a hybrid model. So the process, the initial TDP case, how it is triggered. So there are multiple ways how it can start. One is user action in Team Center. So there is a menu in rack as well as in active workspace where you can say that you want to create a TDP for this one. It can start, the process can start from there. There is in Data Hub has a portal from where you can say that for this part number we need to create a TDP. From there you can start. Apart from that, from a workflow or any kind of other automation inside Team Center, it can automatically start the Team Center TDP generation, like at the end of or maybe at the release, just create a TDP always. So it can do that as well. From data hub side, also there are multiple events in the workflow which can trigger TDP generation, as well as it provides an API where your own application, you have a different application which can connect to data hub and ask for TDP generation. The process is relatively simple. It starts, once it starts, there will be a job created inside Data Hub which you can see and track what is going on at this point. Then after that, the Team Center metadata is traversed and we retrieve, we figure out what all to download and get the metadata from Team Center. File is downloaded after that based on what kind of file it is and what all files do we need. Then after that we do a translation based on if translation is required or not. It can be for protection or just that the supplier needs in a specific format. Once data is translated, we do a validation for the data. Then data is packaged into a 3D PDF or a zip file based on what is required. In some scenarios, based on how it is configured for the customer, it can either be uploaded to Team Center, the TDPs for storage, for future storage, or it can only be made available on Data Portal for supplier download. So once it is available for supplier can download the data from that TDP data. And that download in between, there may be approval added. So it depends on whether approval is required or not. It can be added. So for downstream, once the TDP is generated and available in Data Hub, it can go in multiple ways depending on what is the use case. First is it can go through approval workflow and go to a supplier, maybe a manufacturing supplier, or to receive the data, TDP data. It can go for design or analysis to and then it can go directly to manufacturing unit where it can be consumed. So let's go and look at one of the case studies how it is implemented. Is aerospace organization where it was needed for supplier collaboration. They had a specific requirement with how the TDP is packaged. So they did not want the standard TDP to be generated. They had a specific requirement that these are the specific data which has to go with TDP, and one of the reasons they did not want TDP was the data size was becoming very large, so they wanted in a zip format, and they wanted in fact they wanted multiple zip files in a specific set, so it was a kind of zip of zips. So looking at that use case, we developed a solution based on this data hub and a custom team center connector. So we modified team center connector a little bit to adapt to this scenario. Most of it was some kind of configuration on queries and what all file needs to be handled, but there were a few few customization as well. Then CAD data was translated to a neutral format always, and metadata was put into a CSV file. That CSV file was attached to the original zip, and the packaging was custom. It was a bundle of zip files. So with this solution, we were able to replace a semi-automated distributed solution where the TDP was being generated from multiple places to a centralized system with all audit capabilities, and we were able to get all the functionality of the legacy system in phase one itself within a very, very short period of time. It was a very rapid implementation, and as it was based on Data Hub, which is already in production at multiple places, there was a minimal bug because we just modified. It was kind of out of box with very minimal customization. As compared to the previous system which they were using, there was 70 to 80% time saving in the process, and all the functionality was covered in the phase one itself, and we are now adding some few functionality in coming phases. So with that, I'll open for the question if you have any specific query.
Question.
Sure.
So when you create your 3D PDF, what tools do you use to create that 3D PDF?
So there are two ways. One is there are some translators which support the 3D PDF at creation time. Another is the Adobe has APIs which can be used. So based on if your organization already has a translator which supports 3D PDF and you're using it, we can hook it to that. Otherwise, there are Adobe APIs.
So when you're creating that 3D PDF, all you're doing is taking a JP and putting it in a PDF. So are you also adding metadata, notes, other information?
Yes, so if you're using a 3D PDF,
Can you configure what goes in that PDF? Can you use a template like?
yes, so you can
see what that looks like.
That's right. So you can use a template, so basic template where you can define what all is, in fact, the outline of the pages. If you have multiple pages, you can define for each page outline and define which attribute has to go where. So it's basically a 3D PDF template you can define. and it will embed, put the data inside and create.
And is it, it's configurable, right?
That's
The first slide said that, so what mechanism do you use to configure it? Do you have XML references? I mean, how do you
So-
configure it?
Yes, so the configuration part, we have this thing, a set of property files just basically for a configuration. The 3D PDF configuration is through template. So how it will look is through template. How the queries will be and from Team Center for Team Center download or data traversal, those are through property files. And sometimes we may have to customize this, the needs are completely different.
And you can configure how you navigate to the data, so if your custom, UG master, your NX file is hung over here, your drawings are over here, you can navigate to the appropriate.
Yes, that's
To a pretty decent extent, yes, it is configurable. But if your solution is more complicated and you have your drawings 2 levels down from the model itself, it's not. But 1 level, we support master model concepts where it is 1 level down actually. Absolutely, it's configurable actually.
Yeah, so it's probably not the model, but like, notes. You have notes in your system.
So do you have notes in Team Center or in NX?
They're Team Center.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Team Center, we might have notes in NX, I don't know.
so NX notes will automatically come if you're drawing based. It should come along with your drawing PDF section.
Right.
And if it is your Team Center notes, it should. If you have, I'm assuming you are having a custom object for it, and you have a custom relationship. Yes, we can traverse that, and absolutely. So that whole traversal mechanism from your item revision, from the given item revision to any of your custom objects or your custom data sets is absolutely configurable actually.
And your PMI and EMT and your NX will come along in the 3D.
Yes, that's based on your 3D, but we know that some of the third-party translators have some issues with PMIs actually. So yes, and they are resolving it as.
Those are third-party translators.
So we have worked very well with Elysium. Elysium is very highly considered, and they are very good in converting data and pretty much. But there is a couple of issues with the PMI on certain in the latest versions actually, but they're fixing it. So if the third-party translator supports it, it will come along actually.
Okay.
Can you state what U.S. government organizations you work with, if any?
We have done a couple of projects actually with government organizations, but not continuous engagement. But we have worked with the government organizations. We can talk about it. So, yes.
So I'll typically be required to deliver a TDP based on no standard 31,000, and it could be by level and type. Are there any filters to select by level 1, 2, or 3, or 2D or 3D type?
So the way it goes when we configure for you, we do not support multiple for a single customer as of now. So, but when we configure for you, we will, we will configure based on that. Yes.
Throughout this whole entire process, one of the things that you talked about was that we can load these things. And you got into a lot about the chat and how that translator works. That you're parsing that out, you're decomposing that, you're putting it in the system. You also had up there reference documents, I'm assuming document center. You had specifications up there. I'm assuming you're parsing that. Is that where you require the expertise of your group to be able to understand how to do that, or is that something that you can put to a user group within a particular program?
So if I can understand the question, so you have the main item and the data sets, and then you have your specifications loaded either related to them directly in the item revision itself or somewhere else in a relation format. And you might want the user to pick and choose what's the traversal he wants to do.
I think yes, but I think where I'm going with my question is what, that's a high degree of expertise that one might need to have in order to do that.
No, absolutely. So in most of the companies, what we have worked with, it's pretty straightforward and standard actually. So either they have process specs, material specs, or any other reference documents. And most of them are IMAN spec relations or any other specific relation they might have. And then the reference documents are mostly IMAN reference documents. But if you have a complex relationship, but a standard one, we can absolutely we can configure it for you, and then nobody will need that expertise to choose that. It will automatically traverse to that always and pick up that data. But if there is no standards in the system, then we are at a gray area there actually, yes, on how to automate that. But if there are standards, absolutely we can put it into the system and nobody will need to touch it again.
When you use the term data hub, is that an actual product provided by a third party? Or is that just a generic term?
No, it's a product from us actually. Data Hub,
From
yes,
your
from us
Yeah.
actually. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And we just explained one part of it, the technical data package alone. But you can use it for other data transfers, simple without anything. Yeah, it's a straightforward application. But we just picked the technical data package feature of it to present it here.
And got another one. And so you said you use like UG clone and PCICS for filtering the metadata. So what would you actually use to pull out the documents?
So for the documents, it's, we are going to use a named reference export actually. We are using a named reference export because there is no complex relationships there. Until you have like a requirements, Microsoft Office embedded requirements, and you have to build a document out of it, which we have not handled it yet. But we have straightforward PDFs, Excel files, PowerPoints, any other documents, it will be a straightforward named reference export.
XML export?
Oh, okay. So that's an interesting question actually. Okay, and that opens up possibilities. Can we talk after the call, or because PLM XML is its own traversal again? So we have our own traversal, and PLM XML is its own traversal still. So we have to understand what type of objects we are going to get out of it.
Okay.
And probably we don't want CAD data from that for sure, because we want CAD data through TCS export and UG clone. And yeah, if it's other data and if it's difficult to configure through us, and if it's a PLM XML file is more easier for you, we can surely look at it. But it's an interesting one actually. We have not handled the PLM XML side of it yet.
Okay.
But it's not an impossible one. It's I can see the benefits of it.
You mentioned JT and PDF. Are you using a third-party plugin for that, or how are you visualizing JT?
So in 3D PDF, I mean multiple ways are there. If you are using zip, that is straightforward. In 3D PDF, you can embed JT through Elysium. So if you provide JT, Elysium will be able to import it inside 3D PDF. And you can view inside 3D PDF itself.
So in the current implementation, we used Elysium actually for
So you're converting JT to the 3D PDF format?
it. Yes, Elysium does that conversion actually. Oh yeah, the question was whether JT is embedded into it.
Yes, so in 3D PDF, you will be able to view it.
Do it actually, but it's not embedded in the sense you are asking it actually. But if one of the requirement was attach the JT to the 3D PDF, we have done that, but not everybody.
Does the data hub include any workflows and access control, access audit?
Yes, so everything happens in this process is auditable, so it keeps track of everything, and we keep complete audit here, including who has downloaded, when it was downloaded, and everything. And workflow wise, Data Hub has a workflow for approval. So if suppose you want to send data to 3 different suppliers, and so maybe approval is required that this supplier can receive this data or not. Somebody has to approve it. So once it is approved, it will go, otherwise it will not go.
Okay, so you can treat that as like a platform.
Yeah.
On the mention of PDF, you just copy the name reference file. Do you do any data verification of the actual name, that's the name reference, back to the item ID or item name?
Good one, actually. Yes. So yes, absolutely. So, we can go with both the options actually. So in one case, we just downloaded because their naming convention, the company's naming convention was pretty good about it. So where it's not pretty good, we can configure it to a particular item ID, rev ID, name, any combinations of it.
What company was that?
Yeah, so I cannot. Yeah, we can on a personal conversation later. Like we can talk about it. So most of the companies do have good naming conventions, at least for the PDFs actually, because they do the stamping on it and upload it back. So they do have pretty decent naming conventions, as far as at least I have seen. Maybe don't have, some companies don't.
So, yeah, so if no one has anything, thank you very much for attending the session, and feel free to contact us anytime you want to repeat.